Session 4, Inventory Management. Let's try and understand the definition of an inventory system. First, what is inventory? Inventory is the stock of any item or resource used in an organization, and this can include raw materials, finished products, component parts, supplies, and also work in process. An inventory system, on the other hand, is a set of policies and controls that monitor levels of inventory and determines what levels should be maintained, when inventory should be replenished, and how the replenishment orders should be. This slide shows some examples of inventory held in processes, operations, and supply networks. You can see how important inventory is for business organizations, and also how important it is for organizations to manage inventory effectively. So why is inventory created? Inventory is created to compensate for the differences in timing between supply and demand. Demand and supply do not occur simultaneously. Items supplied from the previous process creates inventory, which will be used by the next process to fulfill demand. Let us look at purposes of inventory. Number one is to maintain independence of operations. If each operation has its own repository of inventory, they need not depend on others or other operations for resources. Second is to meet variation in product demand. To meet demand variation effectively, organizations need to have inventory. Number three is to allow flexibility in production scheduling. Flexibility in production scheduling is important to meet variation in demand. Production divisions sometimes may have to produce in anticipation of demand in order to maintain production efficiencies by maximizing machine utilization. For this, they would require raw materials that would normally be used to produce items required in the future. Number four is to provide a safeguard for variation in raw material delivery time. This is to counteract supply variation due to supply issues like unprecedented longer lead times than was expected. Number five is to take advantage of economic purchase order size. Organizations may have to round off supply quantities over and above normal requirements to gain a cost advantage by purchasing minimum order quantities. These are the advantages of inventory. Inventory is an insurance against uncertainty. Inventory also can counteract a lack of flexibility. Inventory allows operations to take advantage of short-term opportunities, short-term fluctuations in demand. Inventory can be used to anticipate future demand. If your organization have a sound demand forecasting process, inventory can reduce overall costs. Inventory can increase in value, and inventory fills the processing pipeline. So, what is inventory management? Operations managers have differing views on inventory. On one hand, inventory is costly. It ties up working capital. They are also risky due to shelf life or becoming obsolete, especially when it comes to food items or pharmaceutical items. There is always the risk of these items being obsolete if they don't move. They also take up valuable warehouse space. As you know, space is the largest cost component in warehouse costs. However, inventory can provide some security in a complex and uncertain business environment. Inventory also can be used to meet unexpected demand as and when it occurs. It also provides a certain amount of comfort knowing that most eventualities are met. So, this is the dilemma of inventory management. In spite of cost and the disadvantages of holding stock, they smooth and even out supply and demand. The only reason that stocks exist is because supply and demand are not in harmony. This slide shows a graphical representation of what we have basically discussed in the last few slides. In an operating environment, inventory can be broken down into different components: raw material, work in progress, finished goods, and supplies not directly consumed or converted by the process, but which assists in the process. So these are some of the examples of inventory in different operations. There are different ways of holding stock within an operating system. Let's take an example of a sandwich operation. Let's look at 3 business models which manufactures and sells sandwiches. One is Pret-a-Manger, Greggs, and Subway. Let us look at how Pret-a-Manger manages inventory. Pret-a-Manger makes sandwiches at the store and places them into stock. It only offers pre-packaged sandwiches for speed of delivery. You can only have what is on offer from finished goods stock, and the operation is to make to stock locally. It's a highly localized operation where raw materials are brought into the store every morning, and the finished good, that is the sandwiches, are prepared at the store's premises. Pret-a-Manger decides what it needs to sell during the course of the day, and based on that decision, they source the raw materials and manufacture the sandwiches. These sandwiches are then put into inventory pending sales during the course of the day. The operation follows a push strategy where items are manufactured and put into inventory in anticipation of demand. Let's see how Greggs manages their inventory. They make sandwiches at a central location and delivers daily to the stores. This minimizes manufacturing costs, but customers can only have what is on offer from finished goods stock. The operation is to make to stock centrally not at the outlets. Subway. Subway makes sandwiches at the counter from a standard range. The customer can customize to their preference and have what they want. Inventory is held as raw material and work in progress. The operation is made to order locally. The distinctive difference between Subway and the previous two sandwich makers is that Subway does not manufacture sandwiches unless it has a confirmed customer order. So in Subway, you wouldn't have the end product or the finished product in inventory. What it would have are the raw materials and work in progress in inventory. This slide shows you where Subway differs from Pret-a-Manger and Greggs. While Pret-a-Manger and Greggs follows a make-to-stock strategy, manufactures and puts their finished goods into inventory, Subway waits until a confirmed customer order arrives to manufacture the finished good. And in this case, Subway keeps raw materials and semi-finished goods in inventory. Inventory is always considered a cost because it ties up working capital. So what are the dangers of overinvestment in inventory? It unnecessarily ties up the organization's funds, which contributes to its loss of profit. It contributes to its excessive carrying cost. There's a risk of liquidity. It may be difficult to convert into cash, especially if inventory gets obsolete. Physical deterioration of inventory is while in storage due to mishandling and improper storage facilities, resulting in additional cost to the organization. There are also dangers of underinvestment in inventory. Underinvestment can contribute towards production hold-ups, loss of labor hours because of lack of raw material inventory to complete the production plan. Lack of inventory can also contribute towards failure to meet delivery commitments. Customers may shift to competitors and organizations can lose market share. It may affect the goodwill and image of the firm as well, because the organization may not be able to deliver on their promises. So how can we manage inventory effectively? There are three ways of managing inventory. One is called the continuous inventory system. The other is a periodic inventory system. And then the third, the ABC system. In a continuous inventory system, inventory levels are continuously monitored using technology. Reorder occurs at a trigger point. It often uses fixed order quantity. It uses cycle counting. It always aims for 100% inventory record accuracy. The continuous inventory system is used for items that have a very high predictability of demand and that are fast moving. The periodic inventory system is one where inventory levels are checked after a specific time period. So there's always a specific time period within which the reorder levels and reorder quantities are checked. And any item that falls below the reorder level is replenished based on an optimum order quantity. This is often called the bin system. A bin system would usually require two locations. Let's call these two locations bin 1 and bin 2. Bin 1 is a location from which items are issued, and bin 1 is replenished from bin 2, which holds the bulk of the items. And a reorder level and safety stocks are managed from bin 2, which holds the bulk of the items. The next inventory management system is the ABC system. There are so many variants of the ABC, but for this study we will only focus on the proper ABC classification. In the ABC system, inventory levels are based on total annual cost. The 20% of the items that contributes towards 80% of the total cost are classified as A items. The rest are classified as B and C. Category A should be managed carefully due to the high investment cost of these items. Therefore, the process of managing category A items should be part of a strategic supply relationship. You can also classify inventory items based on dollars invested, profit potential, sales or usage volume, or stockout penalties. Setting a reorder level and a reorder point for items in a warehouse is very important for the efficient management of inventory. Organizations need to decide on a suitable reorder level and reorder point based on daily, weekly consumption and the replenishment lead time. At the reorder level, a replenishment order should be generated and the items received in time to replenish any shortfall. The formula that needs to be used to calculate economic order quantity is shown in this slide. Basically, there are three elements of costs that needs to be calculated: the annual purchasing cost, annual ordering cost, and annual holding cost. The quantity at which holding costs equals ordering costs is called the economic order quantity. This is a typical examination question that can be attempted. It tests the knowledge of the student in terms of how inventory should be managed effectively. Thank you.